week I'm talking about the message of burnout. And I often remark about how the universe just is so supportive. So when I decided several weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, to talk about burnout, I just put it out there. And then this week, Amazon was in the news. Remember reading about Amazon and their very aggressive and cruel employee treatment and how stress-producing the culture of Amazon is. And I said, thank you, Lord, for providing me with this example of how harsh their practices are. And I think it's endemic in our culture to cause stress in the workplace. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more stress-producing our lives become. And if you were an employee of Amazon, you embraced the Amabot psychology of owning that culture. And it included, and includes, continues to apparently, to foster criticism of fellow employees and really ugly meetings because the CEO, Jeff Bezos, says that harmony is not necessarily a good philosophy for a business. Well, he and I disagree on that score, but anyway, people are falling out all over Amazon. And there also is a culture in Japan around the conclusion of the Second World War, the strong cultural need to rebuild Japan created what they now call hiroshi, which is literally translated death from overwork. And more and more and more Japanese workers are pushed to the point of absolute utter exhaustion, and they're dying in front of their computers at ridiculously early ages, like 32, 35, and the only cause is stress from overwork. So being loaded up with work and more work and more work and more work, and the cultural expectation of being able to handle that sort of stress is just causing people to die left and right. And what a tragedy that is. So the reason I thought about talking about burnout is that I read Joanne Boroshenko's book, review of one of her most recent books called Fried, excuse me. And so Fried is about how we are just so distant from our soul. And so she declares and defines burnout this way. She says, burnout is a preventable and treatable disorder of the soul. A preventable and treatable disorder of the soul. She says, I think burnout as a critical and dangerous loss of relationship to self. A distance and a loss of relationship to self. And when their self is lost, there's no longer any possibility of having an authentic relationship with another person. So the loss of empathy and the resultant perception of other people as problems to be dispatched rather than as human beings to be evoked is one of the hallmarks of burnout. Now, burnout is different than stress in that there is a hopelessness around burnout that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. It is just utter spiritual fatigue. Like, why bother? And it began to be noticed with people in the healthcare field that were so overstressed and so burdened by too much work that they were lost from their initial call to that profession. So people in the healthcare field were called to be helpers, to care about people. And the need was so endless and the call was so deep that they just felt utter fatigue from the whole situation and the whole circumstance. And I think that we're all prone to excuse me. We're all prone to wanting to help folks, maybe not to such a deep degree that we reach burnout, but she does offer some suggestions for curing or healing or mending from burnout. And the first most important suggestion that she makes is to have a Sabbath. One day that you just rest and you have a relationship with your spiritual connection, whatever that may be, however you may call it, just to step away from it all, to have a Sabbath and to rest. And I think that all of us have that sort of wisdom to know that that's the truth. That when you're so busy, you get less and less and less done, less and less and less accomplished. But stepping away for a full day and allowing yourself to deeply rest one day a week allows you to be more productive. So allowing yourself the opportunity to deeply rest. And ironically, I said that I've been sick this week. And I'm not saying that I suffer from burnout. Believe me, that's not the case. But I remember when I was growing up, my mother would take a weekend that she would call bed rest, maybe once every 2 or 3 months. She would just stay in bed. She didn't say that she was sick. She didn't say that she was exhausted. She just stayed in bed for a weekend and felt that revitalization and that re-energizing that comes with the Sabbath, the rest. So that's one of her key strategies. She says that every person would kick their life into another orbit by a real Sabbath, by going deeply into the well of faith and family and friends. Other things that she suggests that you can do is just taking a walk. Taking a walk and noticing that glorious universe that I spoke of earlier, that wonderful, amazing organization of nature and how beautifully balanced it all is. And so now taking a look at the way autumn is just gently moving in and the days are growing cooler. And then noticing your breathing. You can take a little mini sabbatical at any time just by taking a nice deep breath and being present to that moment, to that glorious essence that is present in every breath. The song that we sing, I am the breath of God. Just taking a breath every once in a while to remember that's the truth. to allow peace to settle over you, to settle through you. Maybe getting into a hot shower or having some fun. Friday, a few of us went to Food Truck Friday, and it was so nice because that super moon was out, and the sound of people having fun and people laughing and sharing, it's so refreshing and so energizing. Just allowing ourselves to be in nature, to be in camaraderie, to be in fellowship, to be in the one that is. So having some fun, cuddling with your pets. I did take my pets with me, and BC and Kate were so gracious to help me rein them in. Someday I'm going to bring them. Brace yourselves. And then those are short-term goals for managing stress and managing burnout. But there comes a time when you need to take a look at your long-term life strategies, because burnout is an indication that that you have lost relationship with yourself. It's a good time to take stock and figure out what it is that you are going to demonstrate in your life that allows you to express your divine calling. And when there is burnout present, that actually indicates that you have missed that connection. Thank you, ma'am. So taking a look to see what it is that has slipped past your awareness, that has caused you to be off task. Sounds so harsh. Off calling. And make an adjustment around that. So as I said, the universe is just so delicious about providing me with ideas and thoughts and information. I also received a email from Wayne Mueller, who actually wrote a book called Sabbath. And he and John Boroshenko and my divine Mark Napo are all good friends. And so I received this message that I want to share with you. It's called The Power of Honest Kindness from Wayne Mueller. Innovations in medical science have given us technologies that digest and analyze astonishing amounts of data. Treatments and procedures, elegant in detail, are put to use immediately, seeming to increase our healing capacities at an unstoppable pace. And yet, the speed of the human heart remains constant. No matter how small the incision, how benign the chemotherapy, the human soul will forever ache for time to find its way, to step carefully through the garden of impossible choices, to seek the reassurance, nurturing of good, honest company. Those called to heal know well the arid country of loss and grief, just as they know the sweet balm of authentic, loving kindness. But as medicine spins ever faster on the axis of technology, more and more often there arises within us certain moments, or days, weeks, months, when we are worn so very thin, so tender and distracted with worry, that we find we have no honest kindness left anywhere inside us. We have been drained, used, we have been drained, used, taken by events poignant and necessary. These invariably come at moments when our true gift, our charisma, the deeply healing nourishment that flows through us when we bring our full and complete presence, has been thoroughly and completely drained from our heart, body, and soul. We are left with little more than a brittle illusion, a pathetic imitation of ourselves as healers, as true friend, as honorable lover. We cannot claim to be that one authentically called, the one we know ourselves to be at our best. What happens when we are not and cannot yet be our best? We rarely tell the truth about this terrible moment. First, we are reluctant to confess to ourselves that we are unable to be of use, that we can honestly bring nothing of any significant value to this person in the hospital, newly diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer, the child, frightened and alone, who just moved into a neighborhood where she has no friends, where other children seem to find sport making fun of her appearance. How she talks of the little girl she is and cannot change.
I'm so sorry.
You were
No
healed.
worries.
You were healed.
The way things are and the way they are now.
Thank you, Jim.
We can find nothing within us to soothe or ease the shredded heart of this man so defeated by the imagined disappearance of his wife of 10 years with another man, leaving him bereft of the one true thing, the lifelong love he knew was his destiny, which he would wake up, remember, and celebrate every morning of his life. We have all landed in this country. Sooner or later, we meet ourselves in this desert. We feel dry and parched, without water, without life. Yet we so often push on, striving to be of use, to fulfill an idea, to honor our sacred call, to be of use. But what we offer instead is a performance. Our cure is jagged, malignant, dishonest. Our conjured appearance of compassion, love, is a pale reflection, a faded image of gentle comfort we do not have to give. We never speak of this moment. We cannot, will not speak of it among our colleagues, our superiors, surely not those who come to us in a searing ache of need, that we are not today, in this moment, a reliable well from which they can safely drink. In the end, the most difficult truth is this: we cannot bear to admit it to ourselves. Our only alternative is to lie, to bring a dishonest compassion, a forgery, to the sacramental table of genuine love. We must learn to speak with rigorous honesty about the corrosive truth of this very human moment. It arises within each of us. Will we continue to pretend to care for what we cannot? Can this bone-weary Confederate kindness truly bring authentic joy to anyone at all? Or do we unwittingly exacerbate and prolong a deeper suffering for all involved? Some of the wisest who came before us understood the quiet power of honesty. They knew the truth would set us free. They understood the fragile beauty in our imperfect presence, of our friendical call to accompany the sick, the wounded, the lost through the dark wood of inevitable fear and heart-rending sorrow. Our work, should we heed this call, is to hold one another close, to listen together for the ancient, eternal wellspring of tender, honest kindness. To listen for where such grace lives in us that refuses to be extinguished, and to know, still, that it can die. And finally to know, to remember together, when two or more are gathered, that our deepest call is always to resurrect one another again. Again. So I found that deeply moving. And I think that the truth and the authenticity of just saying, oh, I am fried. I don't have it to give, speaks to all of us on a deeper level and allows us our humanness to be supportive of each other and to say, well, you know, when you're fried, I'll step up. That's what friendship is about. That's what caring is about. That's what nurturing is about. We cannot nurture anyone else. We can't give from an empty well. And so I think that each one of us has experienced that deep inability to call upon our soul. And we also have experienced the deep healing that comes when we turn within. When we once more make friends with our soul, once more feel supported and supportive of our soul. So to remind you of what Joan Boroshenko suggests, she thinks of it as a crucial and dangerous loss of relationship to self. And the most important thing that you can do is to declare a Sabbath, one day, to nurture and to make friends with and protect your soul connection, the one that is divine within you. Taking a Sabbath once a week to do nothing but nurture your soul. And then on a day-to-day basis, taking the time to be in nature, to take a deep cleansing breath, to get enough sleep, and to be with people who you love and enjoy, who remind you of the truth of who you are, who let you shine, who let you be exhausted, and love you no matter where you are on that continuum. We all go through the dark nights of the soul, and we all come through it because that's who we are. We are that, the one, and we can be restored by that deep connection of the loving essence that is the truth of who we are. So I love you all. You bless my life in so many ways. And you are a reflection of my soul, because it cannot be otherwise. I see the God in you. Namaste. So I would invite the practitioners to stand with me. I allow myself to connect with that is. divine source of all that I call God. And I take a moment and I just allow myself to be filled up with it. The energy and power, the vitality and the vigor of that is. I take a moment and I allow my soul to bask in the light of the divine, to be filled up with it. For everything that needs to be brought into alignment with that divine that I'm going to call healed. Is brought now into that gentle space of harmony and peace. I take this moment for the Sabbath of the divine. The peace and the joy of community, of love, of energy and vigor. I give thanks for it all. I know that each one of us is blessed beyond measure. Each one of us has a soul song to sing. And I listen with an ear for the sacred in each of us. I declare it good. I declare it divine. And I give thanks for it by saying, and so it is.